Welcome to this video round 2 round 2 coverage of the Zurich chess challenge. And yeah, let's have a look at this round. Of course, 3 games, just 3 games. It feels like little after Tata Steel, where we always had 6 games to watch. But I must say that especially today, I'm glad that it's only 3 games, because I'm recording this at 1 AM my time after I've worked about 10 hours, almost 11 hours, rebuilding my home office. Yeah, I got new furniture and recabled everything and so on. Like, it feels like 10 hours of really tough work. It's strange afterwards that you think, well, 10 hours, what on earth did it take 10 hours? Yeah. But it was much work to do, but I'm glad that I'm finished. So now I'm doing this video and I'm pretty much done. So you should take everything I say with a grain of salt here in this time. Okay, let's have a look. We have Gelfand Caruana as the first game. And Caruana is surprisingly playing d6 here. Very fighting move. Gelfand does not accept the invitation to play e4. I'm not sure what Caruana would have played here, the Philidor or the Pilz. Hard to tell. It's not both openings are not regular guests in his practice. d6, however, has an additional idea, and of course it is that c4 e5 is very satisfactory for black. So white players basically play e4 or knight f3, and Gelfand is going for knight f3. That's the most popular move among d4 players. However, you have committed yourself a bit, of course, with the knight on f3. And Caruana again is offering a transposition to a Pirc modern defense, but Gelfand declines and stays within the d-pawn openings. Yeah, and now Caruana plays f5, and what he managed to do here is to get into a Leningrad Dutch via a somewhat twisted move order. But the main point of this move order is that white has already forfeited some options against the Leningrad systems with without c4, for example. There are some lines with c3. There are also lines with knight h3. These are not possible as well. And of course, all types of anti-Dutch lines like d4, f5, bishop g5, the Staunton gambit, whatever. All this is not possible. So this is a very clever move order to enter the Dutch. The only drawback is already on move 1 that white can play e4 here. So a combination of the modern Pirc defense against e4 and the Dutch in this move order is a very nice weapon. So let's see. At the end we get the normal main line position. At this point for years queen e8 was the most popular, but in recent times c6, which is actually the older move, the classical move, has become somewhat more popular. One reason being that the classical reply to that d5, traditionally the main line, nowadays is not considered to be so dangerous for black due to the simple setup with e5. And this pawn, which looks a bit sick, is not a real problem. Black very often can easily cover it with queen e7 and then putting something on the d file. This is in fact a quite satisfactory position for black, and this led to this prompted white to do 2 other moves besides d5. And Gelfand is playing a very rare move, b4. The general idea b4 is not unusual at all, but normally you don't do it with a knight on c3, but play b4 even earlier, so that you can play bishop b2 to influence e5. The issue with the knight on c3 here is that the immediate e5 is possible, and Caruana is doing that. Yeah, it's bit of a problem now. The long diagonal gets opened. White exchanged. There's not much choice. And yeah, here the problem is if white white would take here, you have this type of problem. The long diagonal. Those pieces are hanging, and here's again 2 pieces hanging, and knight c3 obviously is not helping. b4 is just weak or weakened squares, and yeah, white also must reckon with the advance e4. If he plays, for example, a move like queen b3, he must be ready for e4, and this also would improve black's position greatly. The bishop on g7 is just very strong. Gelfand played e4 to yeah, drastically prevent any e5, e4 lines. This now leads to some trades after bishop e6. Yeah, note that this is attacked. Yeah, Gelfand took on e5, which is a bit risky. It seems that after the trade and knight fd7, white only has one continuation. This is what Gelfand played. He took, and now bishop b2. It was necessary to cover this c3 knight. However, now after knight b6, we see that c4 is a very weak square, and black will regain the pawn. A move like c5 is already losing. Yeah? This is just terribly overloaded, the queen side here. Yeah, what he did is the right one. Rook c1. Yeah, now if the knight takes, you can just drop the bishop back and don't have any particular problem. Bishop takes was played, and bishop a1. Yeah, we have a position where white has the slightly better pawn structure. Yeah? 5 pawns and only 2 pawn islands, and black has got 3 pawn islands with those 2 split pawns. However, if you look at the piece activity, this is strong, also strong. The knight on b6, yeah, slightly questionable, but it can be activated often via d5. Black is more active with his pieces, and this should be balanced. However, in the game, we see that after some more maneuvers, it's not really. I mean, you could look at this in more detail, but there is not much going on. The main point is that if you look at this position, it stays the same. It's just yeah, the type of position, let's say, stays the same. Black has got the activity for the slightly worse structure. It's got the good knight and the very active rook that is operating on the d file and on the 4th rank. And the issue is that after some moves like that, and it continues for a while. All this is fairly normal.
Check.
We after a while.
Check.
Yeah, black avoids the draw here with a6, and it's not clear that this is such a great decision. I mean, black is not worse really, but the problem is that after a couple of moves we see, especially after this rook trade, that black's temporary activity has faded somewhat, and here he is slightly worse. I mean, it's questionable if white really can do something in terms to win the game, but the rook trade really, yeah, maybe black should have retreated actually. Why did he trade exactly? He could also just put it back, let's say here for example. Well, maybe he was afraid of something like that, a5, knight to c5. Yeah, but I think keeping rooks on is easier. The knight endgame here, I don't know. White I think has something. I mean, if you look at this, the king is invading, and yeah, white is definitely better in this position, but it's not easy to win really. Here f4 was also interesting, just immediately attacking the knight, and yeah, probably the check here.
Check. Check.
And we get this 3 against 2 with knights. Yeah, I'm unsure if white has some... Does white have some real winning chances? I don't really think so. With the pawn on f5, king on f6, black stays can stay passive, but probably this is not winnable. It's just 3 against 2. I'm not sure. And I would need to look at this much deeper to determine if white can win. In the game, it gets to a similar position. Check. Actually, if you look Check. At this here, very similar. Knight f3, and in this the next couple of moves, Caruana defends very nicely. At this knight f2, king here, and here knight g4. Here played an interesting move. He played h4. I think this is one key motif in defense, and a very important one. After this, I think black draws relatively comfortably. Yeah, well, knight h4, knight h2 is very easy. This black can never lose. Can also quickly attack the pawn and get it, I think. Yeah, and the pawn takes was played, and now he went knight e3, and knight g2 to f4 is attacking the f4 pawn, and this is very difficult to defend. Maybe here white should have tried to he played knight e5. Maybe after knight here he should have tried to keep the f pawn like this. This was maybe a bit tougher, but knight h4, I cannot really believe that white can win this position. Of course he can try, but it should be a draw. In Check. The game it was, I think, even a bit simpler for black. He got this back. Yeah, it's simpler. It's not true. It's basically the same. You get the counterplay now, and here at the end here they agree to a draw. Caruana would of course just take the pawn, and at the next move sacrifice the knight to get rid of the last pawn. Yeah, I don't know. I guess that Gelfand somehow around here he had something, but it's not entirely clear cut if you can win and how you should win. Yeah, as mentioned, due to my office building project, I had less time than usual to look at this, and I cannot give you a definite answer if Gelfand could have won. It's not unlikely, but it's certainly not a trivial matter. I mean, of course, I used an engine to recheck what I thought, and the engine does not give any clear conclusion. It even gives dead drawn positions like that as clear edge for white. At least at first, it takes some seconds to, yeah. But it's not so easy with an engine alone to get a definite answer. Okay, let's yeah, let's go Anand Nakamura. Anand Nakamura. Yeah, Vichy has lost the first game against Aronian, so very bad start to this tournament. While Nakamura has played a draw. Right, he drew against Caruana. Okay, let's see what happens. Vishy playing e4, and Nakamura, surprisingly, not surprisingly, he's played this before, goes for the Berlin. He has gained some experience in this endgame recently, and did fairly well with it. And of course, well, there's some psychological thing going on as well. Arnold didn't really find anything against the Berlin in the match against Carlsen, so it's yeah, it's sort of probing a weak spot here. Yeah, he played d3, and I mean, is the endgame really that dead? Arnold had an excellent score always with the endgame, just the classical Berlin Wall endgame. This stuff. Yeah, I don't know. I still feel that he can do maybe more in this type of position than after d3. Just look what we get here. d3, bishop c5, and now he took on c6. This he had also tried in the World Championship match with absolutely no edge in the opening. Yeah, h3, intending to prevent bishop g4, but black can just develop. Yeah, Nakamura went for long castles, which is probably a bit risky. I read some information about the post-game press conference where Nakamura was a bit critical of this decision, because really white gets something on the queen side, while black is not so quick. We see that.
Check.
Arnold indeed plays on the queen side. A funny pawn formation here. Yeah, his intention is to push the a pawn, trying to open up the a file for the rook, or get a dangerous pawn near the king. And we see that this quickly materializes. f6. Yeah, this is protecting the pawn, maybe preparing g5. This is of course one idea that was tempting for Nakamura, I guess, to castle long, because Vishy had already played h3, so g5, g4 is a ready-made attack for black. It just takes very long. And yeah, we see that after f6, bishop e3, knight f4 first. White is playing a5. And yeah, this is a bit tricky for black. You need to react here. You don't really want to take. Yeah, let's look at this. We've got this idea, rook a7. Yeah, it's just an open a file. And you cannot really allow to take. So b5 was played, and now Vishy played d4. And I think really this is a mistake. It looks really normal, opening up the center, but I think he should just play a6 and go from there. Yeah, black probably needs to play b6 here. I don't really see another move, b6, and now maybe even take and play rook e1. This is the engine suggestion, Houdini's suggestion, giving white a very, very substantial advantage, which surprises me a bit, that it should be so dramatic. But yeah, white, yeah, he has some trumps. His a pawn is dangerous. Black always must watch out for this pawn, and after coming e5, fe, knight e5, this is just a very strong position. Let's say king b8, just for example. This is probably a good plan anyway. e5 takes, knight takes. Yeah, and this is just a very strong piece. It looks at c6, looks at f7. Yeah, white has something here. And the problem with d4, what Anand played, is that now Nakamura can start a sacrificial attack, and yeah, well, he just went for it. Knight takes h3. It's slightly surprising that this should be working, but it does. Takes, and working means it's leading to unclear play. Black is not straight away winning, but it leads to a very complicated and unclear play. And one thing is I think pretty clear. This is much easier for black to play, because the white king is so under fire. At the moment it's not looking so dangerous, but black has very simple continuations to get more pieces near the king. If white, let's look, he took, but if white would save the rook, for example, then there's bishop g4. This is a very annoying pin, that black can probably easily exploit later. White has a hard time to get rid of this this configuration, so this is not really good. And if white takes, which was played, there was queen e6 with a direct mate threat, which means, okay, there's a mate threat and the queen is hanging, so he needed to play knight d2. This was of course planned. Now after this we can briefly take stock here. Black has how many pawns? He's got 2 pawns, right? White's got 5, black's got 7. He has got 2 pawns and a rook for 2 pieces, but the main point is the king. And black's play is just very easy. You need to activate the rooks and try to get something against the king, while white needs to combine defensive moves, moves that maybe do something with the a-pawn, moves that keep the center intact. This is just very difficult in comparison for white to play as opposed to black. Let's just look at this c3, which makes sense. It gains a square, it prepares maybe this at some point. And black is just, one safety move with the king. And now rook d6 with the idea f5, rook g6, winning the queen. And this is just what black is doing. He pushes the pieces towards the king. And it's not easy at all for white to defend. We see that at first there's not much happening, but rather quickly black gets really near the king. Here the next plan is to launch the h-pawn, and white's play is very it doesn't have a clear aim. Where do you attack? Material wise it's not so terrible, but white really doesn't have a simple plan to follow. While black now is pushing the h-pawn, and especially with the limited time, it's very, very important to know what your general idea is, and it's not so clear what white's idea is. He would like to trade queens, for example, but you cannot force that. Very difficult to achieve. Of course, black is not trading. Keeps the queens on. And now step by step black is making progress, while white really does not have any constructive idea. It's very a very difficult position to play. Around here I think white is in big trouble already. After h4 of course the knight needs to react, and it seems that white only has one playable move, which is knight f5. After rook e6, however, black is still for choice. It's easier to play, and the white king will not find a safe spot in the near future. What he played, however, knight e2, is directly losing. The other line was just easier for black to play, but not losing immediately. This now loses immediately due to a direct attack. Rook e8, attacking the queen. Needed to retreat, and after this,
check.
This now black has a winning move. If you like, you can treat it as a puzzle. It's not super difficult, but it's not a simple two-mover. So try to find the way for black here to improve the position to decisive proportions. I'll be silent for a couple of seconds. Maybe it was easier than I thought, because, well, of the somewhat spectacular moves, there's only one really available. And it is the exchange sack on e3. after takes, which was played. Of course, queen takes is not possible, just to show that it's really forced.
Checkmate.
Yeah, takes. Now queen d2, and this is the pin that kills white. He protects the knight. The only move to protect it was a queen move. And now rook f6. The queen now is attacked, and here already Anand resigned. It does not have a good square. Simply, if it goes to g2, you just take here, and this threat is too much. Yeah, note that rook f1 is not saving due to h3, and white is totally overloaded. This will win the house. Yeah, very bad start into this tournament for Anand, who really is in a bad shape for a long while. He wasn't really playing well in the World Championship match, and now in this tournament he started with 2 losses. So yeah, it will be very interesting to see if he somehow can recover for the candidates tournament, but at the moment it doesn't look like he will fight for a new chance against Carlsen in this upcoming candidates tournament. He really needs to consolidate somehow and play some decent games once in a while, because it's not like, if you look at the ratings, he still has an excellent rating. It's not like he's playing this level at the moment. He just plays far below that because he's steadily losing points. So it's really a bad phase in his career. All right, let's look at the star game of the round. Carlsen against Aronian, world number 1 against world number 2, and somewhere I read this is the highest rated single game ever, with a rating average of 2840 or something. Yeah, well, let's see what happens. Carlsen again playing c4. It seems that he has made this his main weapon at the moment, and Aronian, it goes for the reverse Sicilian with e5. It's a line that he plays sometimes, but not so often. And we get this reverse Sicilian dragon. Note that, just for those of you that don't know the line here too well, note that a very important difference to the normal dragon is that the dragon as a black opening, where you often have those dramatic long castles and those race situations. This is really not possible in this opening with reversed colors, simply because white is so quick in playing d4. For example, if black would try that, let's say bishop e6, castles, and f6, yeah, to set up this queen d7 long castles business. Now white plays d4, and black is already in some trouble. Yeah, he's threatening to take, threatening e4, and yeah, black really does not have a move. Something like this already is disastrous. The move f6 is especially useless after this opening of the center. Black really only has one setup here, and this is what Aronian is playing. He plays knight back to b6, and now bishop e7. This is a setup that is also possible, of course, against the dragon in the Sicilian. There it is called the classical variation with bishop e2 and this type of slow maneuvering approach against the dragon. That's not so bad for white as well, with an extra tempo, but this is a setup for black against the English that is enjoying a really solid reputation. Yeah, very neat setup. The bishop is nicely positioned on f8, guarding the king side. The rook is fulfilling a useful role here, and this can be especially true if black at some point plays knight d4, in fact he is doing that soon. If white now would take, which is probably not advisable at this exact moment, after this, note that the rook has a very useful role on e8. Yeah, Carlsen didn't take, of course. He played e3. This is one move. White has some choice here. He can also move the knight away, which is keeping more pieces on the board. It's not necessarily better or sharper, but well, white can play here or knight e1. Both moves are possible and have been played before. Well, e3 is not so bad. It gets rid of the knight immediately. This is some virtue of this move. But it does not feel that black has any particular problem. a4, of course, is an important move. It fixes this a3 pawn so that the f8 bishop always attacks it. Yeah, I keep getting this menu. And yeah, the only real issue for black here, or he's got two issues to worry about. The b7 pawn is of course under attack. This needs to be addressed. And yeah, white, if possible, would like to play the knight to c5. And this is what black also needs to be aware of. Of course, this is not so easily possible, but queen c2, yeah, this kind of stuff is a possible plan. And we see that Aronian immediately addresses the b7 issue and now develops the bishop. Yeah, the rook looks a bit silly, but it fulfills a useful role here. It protects this important pawn, and it's nothing that cannot be corrected. This rook position, I mean. Yeah, here. Knight c5. This is what black needs to take care of. He's attacking and now putting the bishop back. Yeah, this is in fact preventing knight c5. If now knight c5, black can take here and even win instantly because there are two pieces hanging. So knight c5 is not leading to anything but trouble. Bishop g4. Yeah, this is a slight provocation. f5, yeah? But f5 is not a good move. White just drops back and will make some use of this weakened squares and pawns. This is simple and good. Just retreat it and ask white, well, what are you doing with this bishop on g4? It's something that needs to be corrected soon enough. Bishop f3 back. Yeah, here Aronian played b6. Yeah, what about f5 here? Isn't this a good move? Not really. Maybe you can treat this as an exercise as well. White to play and get a big advantage. Yeah, the move is knight d6. Neat little trick. One point is that after the bishop takes on f3,
check.
There's queen a2, and yeah, white is winning with a checkmate. That's
Check.
Can give all
Check.
kinds of kamikaze moves, but at the end,
Check. Checkmate.
we get this mate. So after f5, knight d6, black needs to take here, but
Check.
this is of course an excellent transformation for white, who gained the bishops and an enormous bishop on d5. So black cannot play f5, but b6 is a simple and good move. It makes sure that nothing ever comes to c5. c6 is a slightly weakened spot, but how is white ever going to place a piece there? It's not going to happen. He played bishop b4 and accepted this double pawn. I guess still to increase the pressure here. Yeah, needs to exchange, and now knight d5 becomes an interesting idea. This is why he played knight f6. Cover this. if black takes, there is knight d5, or first this and knight d5. It's not really helpful to take. This is what I wanted to do. I wanted to draw this arrow. So taking is not really helping. Just knight f6 is better, covering the critical squares. Yeah, okay, this gets lost, but black gets b4 back. Yeah, black is slightly more active, but with some precise moves, there's simply nothing happening really. Yeah, rook d3 was a way to temporarily gain this pawn.
Check.
Black is losing this back and now having two pawns attacked. Of course, this is a bit of a self-pin, but there is no way really to exploit it. If black plays knight e4, and I think he did that, right? Yeah, he did that. Sorry, I thought he did something else, but he really played knight e4. Yeah, now white can draw easily with queen takes e5, and this happened. Now, of course, queen takes is
check.
Very bad. So knight takes, and now
check.
Queen f5 check is a very important motif to remember. This type of perpetual on f5 and c8 is really happening quite often. If you look at this,
check.
And black only has g6 to avoid these checks, but no, this is something that
check
maybe is playing for a loss, yeah, or very certainly playing for a loss, as black can never ever win. So there is nothing else than the king moves to accept this perpetual check. So a draw between Carlsen and Aronian. Not the most exciting game, but it looks like a very precisely played game by both sides, and then it can very often end in a draw. All right, I hope you enjoyed the coverage. It was a bit briefer than usual, but I hope you understand that I really I didn't have any time today, and what I really need is some hours of sleep. All right, I still will be back tomorrow with further coverage, and I will have more time tomorrow to focus on the analysis. Thanks for watching. Bye.